Greetings and welcome to a new series I'm calling Learn with FERM. If you're a music producer, audio engineer, whether you're a hobbyist like myself or a professional, seasoned, experienced professional, and you've been keeping up with the whole AI thing, you've probably thought to yourself, if you're like me, when will AI be able to tell me how to mix my song better? Or just analyze it to get general advice in case you're at a roadblock, maybe you're trying to get something to sound a certain way and you've tried the things you normally try and it's not working. All of these different issues that come up in mixing and production. So far with the LLMs, yeah, you could describe your session to them. You can even take screenshots of your faders or even a plugin and say, what are the best settings in this situation? Help me get this sound I'm looking for this genre. And then it knows all the knowledge from the internet. And of course, people have talked extensively about audio engineering on the internet, as they have done everything, every discipline. And so it will give generally good advice. But the issue in terms of music is you really need to hear it. It needs to have the full context to give you really actual useful advice without taking forever to somehow feed it your entire Pro Tools session or whatever. Now, I have predicted that will happen. There'll be some kind of agentic AI for DAWs, and it'll be like coding is now, where it can just have access to all the knobs and the faders, and you tell it what you want it to do and it'll do it for you. But we're not there yet. Where we are at is a place where the LLMs have become more multimodal, taking different inputs other than just text. And if you're not aware, Gemini 3, and actually it might have been a capability of Gemini before Gemini 3, I'm not entirely sure, but I discovered that you can upload a full audio file to Gemini and it will listen to it and not just transcribe text. It actually can extract musical and audio features from it into its tokens, and then it can predict the things that it would say if it was whoever you're telling it to be, in this case, a professional engineer, audio engineer. So that's what I'm here to demonstrate for you, as I have, with the assistance of Gemini itself, developed a quick prototype application to upload your song, ask it for advice, and it'll give it to you. And sure, you can just go to Gemini right now and upload an audio file and ask it a question about it. And I've done that preliminarily, and it's kind of pretty good, but I've devised a little way to make it extra good. And we're going to experiment with that here. I'm going to take a look at the last demo that I uploaded on this channel, and then I'm going to feed it a professional mainstream polished track and see what it says. I can guarantee you it's not going to be magic right away. There's certainly a long ways to go before it almost seems like it's literally listening to the music, but it should give some insights. So let's get into the application. It's a basic React web app that uses some Python things and of course API calls to Gemini 3 and other models. We can select different models. I won't get too technical into how it works, but an important feature that I implemented here to ensure and further inform and give context to the LLM, in addition to sending it the audio file, the WAV file, utilized a Python tool that extracts the spectrogram of the entire track, the entire length of whatever the file is, and it produces the image of it and it sends that along with it. So it has the audio features, hyperdimensional vectors that it extracts that mean something to it, but we can't understand them, along with an image of the spectrogram of that same audio file. So it gets a double whammy of context, and we're going to now see how it analyzes my last demo, the night. So as you can see here, there's the model selections. Really, we always want Gemini 3 Pro. The style, this is like temperature. It's the how wild do you want it to be. If you've used an AI, the generation apps like Suno and stuff, you'll be familiar with this. Just like the level of creativity, how unhinged do you want it to be? So in the case of like in mixing, of course, there's creativity in there. So you could be looking to get something to sound very professional and mainstream, or you could be like, I want this to sound like nothing I've ever heard before. How do I do that? So that's where this comes in. For now, I'm going to do balanced because, again, this is a demo that I had out a couple months ago. I made it in a vacuum. That's how I've done all of my songs so far. I don't show them to anyone. I don't get any advice. I just do it, obsess over it, and then be like, all right, I can't do. But I'm not super experienced. I'm a hobbyist, so I know that it can be a lot better, and hopefully Gemini can help tell me exactly how it can be better. Anyway, back to the settings. There's the thinking level, which is, again, if you're familiar with AI, LLM stuff, you'll know the concept here, but just how much it's going to sit there and go back and forth between itself, saying, oh, maybe I should say this, maybe I should say that. So we'll leave it on medium for now. You can set it to none, but I think thinking is helpful in this context. So the file's in there. It shows you the waveform, but you can, play it, and then you can select what portion of the track you want to be analyzed in case there's a specific spot where you're like, I don't know about this part. Can you tell? But in this case, I'm just going to give it the whole thing, see what it says. For reference, I guess I should, let's play like a portion of it. I haven't listened to this in a while, so I'm not sure what part. Let's go with this part here. Take my life, steady your sighs, hold your breath, cool as ice. I'm crying in the night when demons come to mind. Alright, so if you guys have any opinions on this before you keep watching this video and see what the AI says, think now about what you would do differently to this mix. I love this song. I know it can be better. I don't know exactly what I would do to improve it, but I know it can be improved, other than the fact that it was recorded in my bedroom with poor acoustics for the vocals and the guitar that I did. I've done enough audio engineering and production in my enthusiast recreational time to kind of know what I'm doing, but I'm not at the, master level deserving to be working in some like high-end studio, really. I'm just having fun. Let's see what the AI says. Again, we're going to select the whole track, and before I send it in, so at this point I would type in the engineer directives is what I have the text box say. The AI came up with that. There's a general suggestions of what you could start off by saying, and then start analysis, and it will automatically generate the spectrogram. But just for the demonstration of this app, we can press preview and it will render the spectrogram here for us so we can see it as well and see what Gemini is going to be looking at, in addition to listening to, but not really listening, just doing mathematical operations that are statistically significant. Okay, so we have our MEL frequency spectrogram. That's the standard scale of frequencies adjusted for human hearing things. Most people don't really know how to read spectrograms in a significant way. I don't really. I mean, I know what it means, I know what it represents, but the AI will know exactly what everything means. The question is, will it come up with useful suggestions? So I'm gonna just type in, I'm gonna be very natural with the prompt. Again, since it's the whole song, I'm not looking for anything in particular. I'm just saying, I made this demo a few months ago and I'm wondering what else could be done to further optimize the mix and master. So just give it a very general idea and we'll see what it comes up with and if it gives us any sensical insights, which it should. And then, of course, we press start. Got your little, kind of like a fun chat window here, chat box. Engineer consultation, as the container is titled. All right, we have our results. Okay, so this is the response. It's very long. It's a very long response. So again, we can tune all of this, these actions, the way it responds and whatnot. But for now, let's read what it says. This is a strong demo with a distinct aesthetic, somewhere between dream pop, indie-tronica, and lo-fi, reminiscent of the Postal Service or Owl City. Oh, that's such a compliment. Thank you. The arrangement is solid and the emotional core is there. However, from a mixing and mastering perspective, the track suffers from frequency masking in the low mids and a lack of transient definition in the low end. The spectrogram confirms a very dense accumulation of energy between 200 Hz and 1 kilohertz, which is making the mix feel boxy rather than open. It isn't wrong. There is an accumulation of energy there. Here's a technical breakdown of how to optimize this mix and master. Low-end management, kick versus bass relationship. Listening to the kick drum, it has a nice thud, but it lacks sub-bass weight and separation from the synth bass. Looking at the spectrogram, the bottom orange band is continuous. So it's giving me timestamps and frequency ranges to look at. 0 to 50 seconds, from 0 to 100, so bottom orange band is continuous. I mean, I do see some little breaks in there, but sure. Bass synth is sustaining over the kick transients, blurring the rhythm. That makes sense. I think that is happening. I wouldn't have been able to articulate that before, but it just told me. Let me know if you agree. EQ strategy, kick, boost the fundamental frequency, likely around 55-60 Hz, with a bell curve to give it more weight. Bass synth, apply high pass filter at 35 to remove useless sub rumble that eats headroom. Cut -3 at 60 to make room for the kick fundamental. Dynamic processing sidechain, applies sidechain compression to the bass synth triggered by the kick. You see, these are high-level things that I don't think of when I'm putting together these demos. Mid-range decluttering, the mud zone. The issue, the vocals, the main synth pads, and the snare body are all fighting for dominance in the 300 Hz to 800 Hz range. This creates a wall of sound that reduces depth. In my defense, I like the wall of sound, but again, engineering is a creative thing in and of itself. There is a science to it, but there's also wiggle room of how you like things to sound. That would probably help if I balance that out a little more, but I do like the wall of sound. Synth pads, apply a wide bell cut at 400. This will thin them out slightly, but allow the vocal body to sit in that pocket. Vocals, the robotic vocoder effect adds a lot of harmonic content. It sounds a bit resonant around 1 kHz, 1.5. Sweep a narrow EQ boost to find the nasal frequency and cut it. It's getting very specific. Robotic vocoder, it must be talking about the pitched vocals, because I don't have a vocoder in there. Yeah, so there's that. Maybe that's what it's referring to, but that's a small part. I don't know. Could be hallucinating, but whatever it's hallucinating, it sounds like it's making sense. The snare is getting lost. Boost the crack at 2.5 kHz by 2 dB to help it poke through the dense synth layers. Is the snare getting lost? There isn't really a strong snare sound. It's more of a passive. Let me go back to the beginning of the track because it'll be more. Yeah, it's a sound. It's not even really, it's a snare. It acts as a snare rhythmically, but it's not the snare sound. It's a down tempo kind of thing, style. So again, this is another thing you can fine tune this model for, because I didn't tell it the genre that I'm looking for. I didn't give it any detail on what direction I wanted to go in. I just said, give me some suggestions to optimize it. But I do agree that snare, that hit should come through more. I think that would add a lot of energy to the track. So yes, vocal control and sibilance. The issues, the vocal processing is cool, but the S and T sounds are occasionally harsh. I see. Nah, I don't really. What? I genuinely do not hear excessive sibilance. It might be, and again, this is another thing, selecting the whole track, it's kind of just, it could have heard something very short period of time that was like a quick transient thing, and it wouldn't be as noticeable, and then but it detects it, so it just says there's extra sibilance. Again, all these things you got to think about the way it's processing it, to know what is useful and what's not. So in that case, I don't think that's really a problem. If it is, if you think it is, let me know. And then it just says, yeah, do de-essing, basically. There's so much more. High-end air and stereo width. The issue, looking at the spectrogram, the energy drops off significantly above. The mix sounds a bit dark or closed in. I do like it dark. While this fits the lo-fi genre, a modern master needs a bit more sheen to translate. Okay, translate well on earbuds, yeah, fair enough. Track has good dynamic range, visible in the breakdown, but the loud sections lack glue. Bus compression, I think I did parallel compression on this for the whole instrumental. I don't recall exactly. I'd have to, that's one thing I'm not going to do in this video because it's already gone long enough. I could go to the Pro Tools session and like how effective these fixes it's suggesting would be, we'll save that for another time. And it's just giving compression advice, lots of details, very technical. Summary of action plan, sidechain the bass to cut 400 synth pads, unmask the vocals. I don't think the vocals are really masked that much, but yeah, the clarity. So a lot of useful things. It's definitely listening and coming up with legitimate sound advice. No pun intended, sound advice. That should be somebody should start an audio consulting business called Sound Advice. Anyway, okay, very interesting. Again, let me know what you think in the comments. And I forgot to say earlier, hit the like button, please, and subscribe if you haven't already. Before we go, I want to try and put in a mainstream, polished, record label produced track to see what it says. Now, the key here is I'm not going to lead it on. I'm not going to say this is a professional track. I'm just going to say, well, I'll show you as I type the prompt. But the song that I have that I'm going to put in there is when I thought of what's a mainstream kind of pop sound that I really like, and the first thing that comes to mind is the 1975. One of my favorite bands. Defined my young adult life, and up until now, still very much an influence. I'm going to upload from their latest album, Oh Caroline, a beautiful song. One of the most the 1975, quote, sounding of their newer stuff. It's very reminiscent of their early style. Now, obviously, I'm not going to play any of it for copyright purposes. If you know the song, you know it. If you don't, I suggest you listen to it if you're into synth pop, indie pop types of sounds from British people. What's important here is to see how the AI reacts. So I need to craft this prompt and make sure that it's not biased, that it's not leading it on to the fact that it's a professional mix and master. But first, let's go ahead and load up the spectrogram just to see. Now that's a beautiful looking spectrogram. All right, so keeping the same settings as I did originally, we're gonna say, I gotta figure out how to word this where it's, because if I say that it needs work, it's gonna invent something that needs to be improved. But if I say it's done and it's mainstream and it's popular already, yeah. Okay, so I typed analyze this master and suggest general improvements. If you do not find that it needs improvements and that it's already really good, that's okay too. I just want to know. All right, here we go. Let's see what it said about this very professionally mixed song. Here's my technical analysis of the provided master, the overall impression. The track is a solid modern pop indie electronic production, which it is. The arrangement is catchy, the vocal performance is strong. Shout out Matty Healy. And the stereo width is generally good. However, from a mastering perspective, it feels slightly unfinished. So now we see where it starts to break down. It lacks the cohesive glue and spectral separation found in top-tier commercial releases. The mix sits somewhere between a high-quality demo and a final mix. The elements are there, but they are fighting for space. I had a feeling this was going to happen. So before I read anymore, this speaks to a lot of things. One, the fact that everyone is going to have their own opinion on how they like something to sound, especially engineers and producers, because they usually are locked into some kind of sound that they generally create, and they're always looking to go towards that. Sometimes find new things too, but overall. So it is entirely possible that a highly skilled professional engineer would hear this track, Oh Caroline by the 1975, and say, it lacks some glue and, whatever. So the other thing, what's happening here, I think, is, like I said, I tried not to lead it on, but because when you code the API call to Gemini to say, you put a system prompt so that every time you send a prompt, there's another prompt that goes with it by default that says you are this, and this. And so in mine, it's basically like, you're a professional audio engineer, look for improvement. It's being told to look for improvements by default. So yeah, I mean, it's an interesting result regardless. Let's read some more and maybe things might make sense. Spectral band. Okay, looking at the spectrogram specifically in the 200 to 500 hertz region, the bright orange band across the center, there is a significant buildup of energy. This is audible as cloudiness or masking, where the body of the synth pads The fundamental of the snare and the warmth of the vocal are colliding. So it's a similar thing it said about my track, at least some of that. So the other thing is I think we're hitting a wall of Gemini is trying to be as objective as possible in terms of general mixing practices, and it doesn't have a good sense of this genre is expected to have this energy build up over here kind of thing. So again, we're exposing some weaknesses, but I still think it's very useful for those of us who aren't super experienced and could always use some extra perspectives on things and get advice from. I'll scroll quickly through this, see if there's anything interesting. The low end is present but feels a bit loose. The kick drum has a nice transient, but the decay conflicts slightly with the sub bass. Again, another thing it said about my track, which I did agree on there, but it seems to be homing in on very specific things. Alright, so we learned a lot of things today here at Learn with FERM, the program. I think this has a lot of promise. It's obviously not in its ideal state, but the fact that it can extract features from the audio coupled with the spectrogram image and then additional prompt engineering in and of itself, I did very general broad prompts here. I could have been very specific. I could have selected a specific portion of a song, but there's a lot of things that can be experimented with here. For the purpose of this video demonstration, that's all we'll do for now. We've uncovered some interesting insights, optimizations for the program itself, and ultimately, as time goes on, Gemini and other LLMs, and eventually somebody can fine-tune a mixing and mastering LLM. The foundation of the technology is all there. It will keep evolving. It's just a matter of fine-tuning and giving it the right context, and this could replace all audio engineers. Sorry, it's not going to happen anytime soon, I don't think, but this is the beginnings of that. And again, forget this silly app prototype here. Imagine being in Pro Tools, Ableton, whatever, Fruity, FL Studio, and having an extra window that's a full conversation that you can have with an agentic model that can turn the dials for you, move the faders, set the routing, do the plugins, all of that, while you tell it what to do, and then you can review what it did and refine it. That's where we're headed. But for now, we can upload some audio to Gemini and see what it says about it. So I hope you've enjoyed this experiment, Learn with FERM, episode 1. We're not going to make episodes out of it, but I will do this again. If you have any particular things regarding music and frontier AI technology or other technology in general, let me know in the comments and maybe we can learn some other stuff together. Again, hit the like button, subscribe. Live streams of music submissions are on the FERM Factor channel. Peace and love. See ya in the next one.